A few months back, an office worker, Kisuk, was working in an office late at night and said that they were on course again until the morning. Another worker comes in and asks him if he is still working, and if he has not completed the work yet, and Kisuk says that he is still doing the translation work. The general manager told them that they are doing an overseas expansion and gave them all the foreign jobs and us, and the worker asks if Kisuk has a major in Chinese language. Kisuk says that the manager is amazing because he does not know the difference between English, Chinese, and French and curses at him. Typical manager giving all the work to the office workers without caring if they can even do it for garbage pay. Now that is capitalism. The other worker's phone rings and says that his wife is going to be angry, so he will go home now. He is a true follower of happy wife, happy life. He says goodbye to Kisuk and tells him to sleep properly. Kisuk lives alone and does not have a wife or friends to trouble him, so it is easy for the other people to make excuses to leave early, but he's forced to do all the overtime. He drinks some energy drinks and suddenly feels his body fall down on the desk, and after a while the ambulance is called to help him. He wakes up from his sleep and sees that it is very bright outside and wonders what is going on. He looks around and notices that he's in a forest, which surprises him. He gets up and feels that his body is in good condition and wonders if it is because he slept well or if he is still asleep. He suddenly remembers that this work is due soon and it must be past noon, but he does not have his phone. He runs around and tries to find his phone and finds someone sitting in front of a cave and thinks that is a person. He calls out to it and it walks towards Kisuk, and he notices how big the person really is. Kisuk is surprised and bows to him and asks him for directions, and the monster says that he is yummy, which makes Kisuk nervous. Kisuk runs away from the monster with it running right behind him, and he wonders what the monster really is and stops for a while in the forest. He thinks that the monster is slow and walks around a bit more and notices a huge city through the forest. He wonders if he really reincarnated in another world, which is a dream for every otaku in the world. He arrives in the city of Manfeng, and Kisuk wonders if he passed away while he was at work and says that his life was really boring. He looks around the city and figures out that this is his chance to fulfill his childhood dream of becoming an adventurer. He shouts out loudly and becomes hyped, and a kid beside him tells her mom that he is weird, and her mom tells her to be quiet and calls him a foreigner. Pretty much what happens when a weeb arrives in Japan. A few months later, someone shouts at Kisuk and tells him to move a box to the corner and calls him useless. Kisuk moves the box and someone else shouts at him that the cleaning has not been done yet, which he apologizes for. Even in another world, he is still pathetic. Guess God did not give him a cheat skill. Kisuk needed to make a living, so he was doing boring jobs on the side. When he arrived in this world, he went to the Adventurers Guild and thought he got a cheat skill before he got reincarnated. He was very hyped about it for a while, and when he got his skill appraised, it turned out to be a language skill where he understands all the languages in this world. In the tavern, an adventurer is talking to someone else and asks if they heard about the rumors of the man-eating wolf Fenrir, who has been seen on the outside of the city recently. He explains that it runs faster than the wind through forests, has huge fangs and claws, and the people who have seen the monster have never returned back alive. The other adventurer asks why the rumors are going around now and thinks that he is lying and says that even if it is true, the adventurers will definitely defeat it for sure. Kisuk hears what they are talking about and says that the outside is filled with dangerous monsters, and even if he is not treated well, staying in the city is much safer, and is thankful that he gets to eat food every day. He suddenly realizes that even though he has reincarnated in another world, he is still treated as a slave and is the same as he was in his original world. He decides that he has had enough and cannot live like this anymore, and later he decides to buy some equipment from a merchant. He obtained a steel sword and a wooden shield and lost all of his savings on them because even used items are expensive. He does not have any cheat skills, so he has to slowly raise his level, and when he goes to the forest nearby, he finds a goblin. He thinks that even he can beat a weak monster like a goblin, but when he jumps out from his hiding place, he notices that it was a group of goblins. "You done hoofed, my boy." The goblins start to attack him and destroy his shield and punch him all over. They start to laugh at him, and he wonders why they are so strong, because he thought that goblins are weak monsters. Kisuk thought that this was a game, and it is very dangerous to think like it is one. He remembers the face of the manager that made his life bad in his past life and starts to get annoyed. He starts to see the manager's face on the goblins, which makes him weirded out, but his fighting spirit starts to grow and starts to release his anger using his blade. He attacks one of the goblins and thought he defeated it, but it only loses consciousness, but he can defeat them one by one like this. Goblin Slayer would be proud of him. The other goblins become angry and start to attack him all at once, which scares him, then suddenly, the goblins get knocked out. He wonders what is happening, and when the goblins start to get up, he sees something in the air attacking the goblins, and he wonders what it is. The thing that saved Kisuk was the wolf Fenrir, which eats the goblins in front of him, and Kisuk thinks that the rumors were true. The wolf starts to leave and Kisuk wonders if it did not notice him and tries to hide as if he was a tree, but the wolf sits down right in front of him and starts to drool and says that he looks tasty and smells nice. Kisuk becomes scared and tells the monster that he tastes very bad and he has no meat on his body and is not very healthy because his blood is muddy and his organs are rotten. The monster is surprised and asks if Kisuk knows its language, and he makes an excuse that he does not know anything. The monster smiles and says that it is rare to see a human with a language skill like that and tells him that it does not eat humans. Kisuk finally relaxes but figures out that he can understand even monster language with his skill, which surprises him. He remembered that he understood what the over and the goblins were saying, and the wolf says that the words he can speak depends on his intelligence level, and there are not a lot of intelligent monsters with a big vocabulary like the wolf. The wolf smells something and asks what he has in his bag, and Kisuk brings out a sandwich, which makes the wolf howl because it smells very good. Kisuk decides to give it to the wolf as thanks for saving him, and it eats it in one bite. He wonders if it is up because the bread is hard, the ingredients are not good, and is very cheap, but the wolf says that it is tasty and makes a really ugly face. The wolf rolls on the ground because it has not eaten such a good meal in a long time, and Kisuk gives it more sandwiches. He asks what it normally eats, and the wolf says that it normally eats bugs, swamp lizards, and tree barks if it feels extra zesty. It also eats goblins, but they tasted horrible, and Kisuk asks if humans eat them too, but the wolf says that they do not. The wolf explains that if they eat a human even once, the people will form a party, get revenge, and never give up until they win, and when all of mankind becomes the enemy, even a monster like Fenrir would lose. When the wolf was young, its father and mother harmed humans, once which resulted in it being left alone like this. At night, Kisuk makes a campfire and lies down with the wolf and asks if it was alone this whole time and if it ever felt lonely. The wolf says that it is not so weak that it needs someone's help because it is easier to be alone, even if it knows how to speak. Having no one to speak to is boring. Kisuk says that the wolf talks a lot, and the wolf says that it is surprised because it has been a long time since anyone listened to it. Kisuk rubs the wolf's face and asks if it never noticed how lonely it was, and the wolf thought he's a weird guy, but is also weird itself. The next day, Kisuk decides to go back to the city because he came outside without permission and has a job that he has to finish no matter what. The wolf says that they part ways here, but Kisuk quickly says that there are more delicious things in the human town and wants to feed the wolf a lot of stuff since it will be here anyways. The wolf starts to drool again at the thought of more tasty food, but quickly says that someone like it will not just accept those things. Watch out, we got Cassio reincarnated as a wolf. The wolf explains that the Fenrir family has a belief that evil will always be returned and does not like to borrow stuff. It says that the way back to the city is dangerous and decides to follow Kisuk back to make sure he is safe, but he says that if he takes the wolf to the city, it is going to cause a big mess. The wolf decides to show him how it escapes from humans without getting caught and transforms into a human. There it is, the cliche of a monster turning into a cute and I'm girl. Wind starts to blow and Kisuk sees that the wolf has turned into a human but without any clothes. He gets embarrassed and the wolf explains that it is shape-shifting magic and she has less power, but is fine. She says that her beauty is also the same, so it should not be a problem if they go into town like this, and Kisuk is surprised that the wolf was a female. The woman says that he is rude because he did not know her gender and tries to look away, but she asks what is wrong with him now and if he is scared of females. She explains that even if she shape-shifts, she cannot speak properly, so he has to interpret everything from now on, but she will protect him and get to eat tasty food. Kisuk quickly hides his eyes and tells her to wear some clothes, but she says that she does not need equipment because she is the strongest. He tells her to cover herself as she grabs him by the neck and starts to walk towards the city. Fenrir talks to the guards in front of the city entrance, but all they can hear is her barking at them like a dog. They ask who she is and tell them to stop, but she just keeps barking and they wonder what she is saying. Kisuk explains that she is saying nice to meet you, but Fenrir shouts at him and says that she is telling them to get out of the way. The guard asks if she is from the beast race and what their purpose is coming here, and Kisuk asks if he knows who he is and explains that he is the foreigner that has been working in the city for a while now. He explains that Fenrir is a friend from another country, and she came here because it has good food, beautiful scenery, and the people are kind here, so she wanted to come and see the place. The guard looks at her and notices that she is wearing weird clothes and sass that it is fine because she does not look dangerous and tells them not to cause too much trouble. These guards do not care at all. Brew, what if they were monsters in disguise? Kisuk and Fenrir enter the city, but the other guard tells them that they have to inspect their luggage, and Kisuk is surprised that they do too many double checks here. Fenrir notices that there are a lot of humans here, and Kisuk tells her to be careful because it is not good if she looks suspicious in a human town. He tells her to behave nicely, but she has already disappeared and is at a food stall trying to eat something without paying for it. Kizu grabs her and tells her not to do something stupid until she learns the rules of human society, which she agrees to. She asks who the boss of this place is because she wants to greet the person, and he asks her if she means the Baron. He tries to think of his name but cannot because the names of nobility are hard for him to remember. Fenrir notices some people and asks if he is the boss because everyone around them is nervous around him and points at a group of thugs that look like they would be defeated in an off-screen fight. They walk around the city and Kisuk says that this is their area, and Fenrir says that if this is their area, then they are the boss. She walks up to them while he tries to get her to stop, but she does not, and the gang members ask who she is. Fenrir tries to talk to them, but she just barks at them and they ask if she's making fun of them. Kizu quickly catches up to them and apologizes to him and tries to leave, but the leader grabs him and asks if he is going to run away after starting a fight. He tells her to put a collar around her neck because she's a pet, and Kisuk tries to tell him to work this out peacefully, and Fenrir pushes the leader away. She says that he is not the boss, and the leader of the gang member gets angry and decides to beat them. A crowd starts to form around them, and Kisuk grabs Fenrir's ear and tells her to listen to him and starts to run away from the gang members. Yes, the legendary Joester technique of running away. Fenrir says that they can beat those guys, but Kisuk says that if she fights them, it will not have any flesh left. They end up running to Hinadori Inn, and he tells Fenrir that she should not fight inside the city because they will kick her out. Fenrir eats some meat and says that she understands, and Kisuk says that she is eating too much. Fenrir likes human food a lot because it does not stink, and Kisuk says that she eats a lot, which will cost them a lot of money. They also have to pay for lodging. Even though it is cheap, daily and clothes are important too, so they need a lot of money. Fenrir asks him what money is, and he shows her a coin and says that it can be used in this kingdom. He explains that he sweats all day just to get 2 silver coins, and the food Fenrir is eating is worth 1 coin. Fenrir is surprised because she now owes Kisuk a lot because he paid for all the food for her, while she just keeps on eating. She says that her pride will not allow this and will get money really quickly, but he does not trust her when it comes to money, and does not know what he will need in the future, so he has to start saving. He asks what name she will use when applying for a job because Fenrir is her family name, and she says that she does not have one because she does not need it for survival. She does not care about it and tells him to choose a cool name for her, which surprises him. He thinks of a piece of meat that he throws, and Fenrir turns into a little dog and tries to catch it to eat it and decides on Shiro. He asks if she likes it, and she gets excited because it is similar to the Fenrir family's hero Pororo and can feel the purity and nobility in the name. Later, Kisuk calls for the landlady and asks if she has time. She asks what he wants. He introduces her to Shiro because he will still be here for a while longer, and the landlady is surprised that he finally got a lover. She touches Shiro's ears and starts to pull it, and is surprised that she is a real person from the beast race. Shiro starts to shout, and the landlady asks why she is not speaking, and Kisuk makes an excuse that she is speaking a language from her place, so he will translate what she says. He says that she eats a lot of food, so he is looking for work, and since the landlady always helped him find work, he wanted to ask her if there are any jobs that can be done quickly. She says that there is one, but it requires a lot of physical strength, which might be a little hard for a woman while she feeds the little Shiro dog. Kisuk says that Shiro is stronger than she looks, which the landlady agrees because she eats a lot and believes him. The landlady tells him to just go for work tomorrow, and the next day a person tells him that his job is to carry luggage. All the luggage needs to be loaded before the evening, and the boss shouts at everyone to move quickly and hurry up. Kisuk asks Shiro if she understands what they need to do, and Shiro picks up a big box with one hand and tells him that she understands. She jumps from the top of the ship onto the deck with the box, and Kisuk shouts at her to be careful. He also starts to carry boxes, and Shiro asks if it is a rule that they have to carry 1 box at a time because it is so annoying. He asks her how many boxes she can carry at once, and she lifts 12 boxes at once, which surprises everyone. They wonder who the woman is and if the boxes are empty, but it is not, and Shiro makes a face as if she is not carrying something heavy at all. They come together and start to tie the boxes together with ropes so she can carry them easily, which everyone agrees to surprisingly. In the forest near the ship, the gang members from before, who are named A, B, and C because of how unimportant they are, find out that Shiro is working on the boat. The leader gets angry because she made fun of him and will not forgive her, but then they notice that she is carrying 12 boxes on each hand at once. They become surprised and wonder if they were going to pick a fight with such a monster and decide that they should do honest work from now on. At least they know when to quit. It would be so annoying just wasting a panel on defeating those thugs. The boss of the ship says that his work was delayed and the ships were stranded, so Shiro really saved him and gave them their money. It was only 2 silver coins, which makes Kisuke upset because they worked so hard, and the boss says that what he did was nothing special and gives Shiro a whole bag of coins. Kisuke is surprised that she earned so much in one day, and the boss says that he never had someone as useful as her and is fine with her working here every day. Shiro gives a little bit of money to Kisuke as a reward from her, but he gets confused. She explains that he taught her a lot of things and went through a lot of trouble, and she does not know the worth of money, so she wanted to give some to him. He declines, though, like a true Chad, because he did not do a lot of work anyways and tells her to keep it with her. Shiro cannot accept it, though, and Kisuke says that she should treat him to food tonight then, and she accepts. All the boss hears is some barking, though, and does not understand what they are talking about and tells them to enjoy their food. He thanks them for their help and shakes Shiro's hand, but she holds it too tightly and crushes his hand. The boss gets turned on, though, from that, and Kisuke apologizes to him. While walking, Shiro says that humans have a nice culture and shows him her family's greeting by showing her bottom to his face. She tells him to smell it, which surprises him, and she explains that this is a Fenrir greeting to show deep trust. He does not want to do it, though, because a crowd is gathering, but Shiro does not care, and he decides to smell it in front of everyone. They now have a reputation of being famous on the dock and being 2 foreign weirdos. Kisuke tries to wake up Shiro while she is in her half-wolf, half-human form, and he asks how long she plans to sleep. She does not wake up and almost scratches Kisuke, and he says that she will not be able to have all the food and shouts at her to wake up. She asks if it is morning, but it is already noon, and he explains that they are going out to eat food. Shiro immediately wakes up and tells him to hurry up because the food will disappear. She got her priorities straight. While they are eating, Kisuke explains that he was tired of living in the town and wanted to become an adventurer who was always free, but Shiro says that he almost got destroyed by the goblins. Kisuke is too weak to be able to survive by himself, and he now has Shiro and wants to be just like her and not be bound by anyone. Since she has a lot of power, he wants her to be an adventurer with him, which she agrees to because it is fun, and decided to teach him how to fight. At the Adventurer Guild, Shiro asks what this place is, and he explains that he is an adventurer here, but also an apprentice. And if she gets recognized for her ability, she can take up missions like monster subjugation. Shiro gets excited because she thinks their job is just fighting, which she is good at, and Kisuke explains that if she does not fight, then the stress will build up. He tells her to behave herself here, and she says that he says that every place they go to, and someone shows up in the room. She is like a dog who needs to be told what to do and not to do. The receptionist, Emi, shows up and Kisuke becomes embarrassed. She asks what he is doing here today, and he asks if there is something he could do to help her, and Shiro gets jealous and says that she looks tasty while drooling. Emi asks who she is while Shiro keeps barking like a dog, and Kisuke shouts at her to stop it. Emi does not know what she is saying, and he says that she does not know how to speak their language, but he will translate for her. Shiro asks if they came here to make small talk and tries to fight him, and he tells her that it hurts and to get off of him. Kisuke tells Emi that he came here to take the exam to become an adventurer, which makes her excited because she was worried he could not find a party to take the exam. Shiro asks what an exam is, and Emi explains that being an adventurer is a dangerous job that can cost them their life, so they help people get the job done safely and provide support. That is why they need to at least have a low-ranking ability, or they will not be given any jobs. She keeps yapping and explains the Adventurer Guild like every Isekai manga does, with the same leveling system. Emi says that they have 3 days to bring back proof that they defeated the monster and asks if they have questions. Shiro says that she did not understand what she said at all, and Kisuke says he will explain it to her later. Shiro decides to get started on it now, but they still need to fill a form first, so she waits behind him like a good little dog. In the forest, Shiro tells Kisuke to hurry up, and he tells her that they have to confirm if this is the right place. He has not told her what monsters they are supposed to defeat, and explains that the monsters they are hunting are wild boars who are not a big threat, but have been attacking humans a lot recently. They cannot find the boars anywhere, and Shiro tries to smell them to find them, which Kisuke is surprised at, as if he did not figure out that she is like a dog. Shiro says that the boars have too much odor and the smell is spread out, so she cannot even find them, and the whole area smells like them. Suddenly, a huge boar appears behind them while Shiro tells him that there is something wrong here. Kisuke becomes surprised, and Shiro says that it looks way bigger than what she heard, and he tells her that this is a different monster, a C-rank monster named King Boar. The King Boar roars loudly, and Shiro asks what he is saying, but even he cannot understand what it is saying. He wonders if it is not able to speak in the first place and must have come from the deepest part of the forest and caused the smaller boars to attack the humans. The King Boar starts to become angry, and Shiro says that this is not their target but wants to fight it, and asks if she can destroy it. Kisuke is nervous if she can really defeat it, and she says that it should be fine with her human body. The cane boar rushes straight at her, but she easily walks past it because of her speed, but the cane boar sees her and immediately turns around to run straight at her again. Shiro tells Kisu to be quiet because it is just a boar and easily jumps over it. She explains she did not dodge the previous attack because she saw it coming and tells him to take his as a lesson. Guess she is not completely dumb and can make plans to fight properly, instead of the usual cliche, I only use 10% of my power stuff. The cane boar just keeps running straight and ends up near the edge of the cliff and tries to stop, but Shiro kicks the cane boar from the back and it falls down the mountain. They subjugated the cane boar and Kisuk wonders how to collect the parts of the boar because they need it as proof. Later at night, Shiro and Kisuk arrive at the Adventurer Guild and tell them to have a look at their items. Everyone at the guild is surprised that the newbies bought items like that while Shiro's stomach is big from eating the cane boar meat. Emi is surprised as well and asks if it was a cane boar because it should be living in the deepest part of the forest. Kisuk explains that it came to the entrance of the forest by mistake and Shiro defeated the beast and it is above E rank, so he should be able to get his guild card now. Emi understands, but because of the rules, they failed the exam because they were supposed to subjugate an E-rank monster and keeps on yapping on and on about why they failed the exam. Shiro should just turn into Fenrir and show them who is the boss. Someone shouts out at Emi to wait because this is not good and it was an adventurer named Ogun. He explains that they got the information from the guild, then headed to the forest where they found the cane boar, so the guild is at fault and tells Emi to thank them because of that. Ogun says that they should only if it is true because it is suspicious that a monster like that appeared near the forest, and there are no traces of the fight left. He thinks they could have just bought the materials and everyone thinks that it might be true, but Kisuk says that Shiro definitely defeated the monster. Ogun looks down on Shiro because she has no weapon on her and asks if she defeated it with a punch, and Shiro becomes angry because she feels like he's making fun of her. Ogun says that it might just be a scam and should end it here, but Shiro walks up to him and shows him the middle finger. Kisuk asks her how she knows the hand sign and Emi tries to calm everyone down. It's like seeing your child grow up and become an adult, enough to make an old man cry, but not this man. Ogun says that since Emi is trying to protect them, they should take on an example quest, which the guild will have no choice but to accept. He tells them to prove their strength to everyone, and Shiro understands what he said and agrees, while Kisuk becomes nervous about accepting such a hard quest. There was a small village that was famous for the amount of materials and its nature, but is now called the Cursed Village. Kisuk and Shiro have to go to the Cursed Village because a few months ago, all the villagers disappeared all at once and there was no trace of where they went. After they disappeared, the travelers and merchants who went to solve the issue also disappeared. Shiro asks if a monster attacked the people, and Kisuk thinks that might be the case, but the guild reported that they cannot figure out the monster's identity and its power, so he is going to depend on Shiro now to protect him. They cannot see anything at all from far away, and the people who come at night will definitely lose their way and never return because of the fog. Kisuk asks if they should really enter this place even though Shiro made a deal with the guild because they might get cursed, but Shiro gets angry and asks if he is going to run away like a coward, because if he does, then it will be like admitting defeat to Ogun, which she definitely does not want to do. Shiro notices something and whispers that Ogun has been following them for a while and remembers his scent from when they met at the guild. Kisuk thinks that he is there to observe them, but thinks that he could be using them as bait while he investigates the identity of a monster to take the credit. Shiro gets pissed and thinks that they are being looked down on by Ogun and swears at him. She calms down and says that they should wait and see what he does and makes fun of Kisuk and says that he is definitely stronger than him. Kisuk and Shiro walk around the village with broken buildings and notice that it is too quiet and cannot sense any living being. Kisuk asks if Shiro can smell any monster, but she does not, and Kisuk gets scared by a rat. Kizuki touches it but cannot understand what it is saying and thinks that it is not intelligent enough, but wishes he could. Shiro tells him to not let his guard down and picks him up like a princess and jumps onto the roof of the building. He asks if she found something, and Shiro tells him to take the meat of the cane boar out of his bag and give it to her. Shiro says that even if they can see it, they cannot notice the monster and throws the piece of meat on the ground. She is surprisingly smart for a dumb wolf who goes crazy at the sight of food. Kisuk says that it was her dinner, but great food comes with great sacrifices. The rats on the ground start to go towards the meat, and suddenly, thousands of rats jump on top of the meat to try and eat it. It looks like when Black Friday sale starts and all the Americans try to jump over each other to save 10% on a TV. Kisuk is surprised and wonders why there are so many rats in this town. Shiro says that they would have ended up like the piece of meat if they thought they were just normal rats and notice that they are going back to their house. Shiro is amazed that they left nothing, not even the blood, and Kisuk wonders if they ate all the humans and if it is even possible. Shiro explains that human homes are cozy even for animals, and there was a lot of food in the village, so it makes sense that the rats were doing well. Since the whole village has rats, it has turned into vermin control, and Shiro says that going against multiple enemies at once is annoying for her. They finally remember about Ogun and notice him lying on the ground and shout at him that the rats will eat him, but Shiro thinks that he might have just fallen asleep. Shiro asks if he is going to help him, but he does not want to, as Shiro says that they cannot just leave him there. When your pet has more empathy than a human, you know you're screwed in the head. She tells Kisuke to stay on the roof and to be careful because it still might not be safe, and to be careful about his surroundings. Shiro jumps down and Kisuke figures out that he is leaving everything to Shiro, which is not cool. He thinks about why Ogun was just lying on the ground like that and still was not eaten by the rats, and Shiro picks him up to move him to a safe location. Kisuke hears a voice and sees a huge hand made of rats behind Shiro and shouts at her to look behind. Shiro quickly dodges the attack and jumps on the roof with Kisuke and thanks him. She wonders how they knew they were there, and Kisuke says that they were talking. He explains that he had to concentrate to hear it and Ogun was bait for Shiro. She says that they are just rats, so they do not talk and are not smart enough, but she can only smell the rats there, so there is no one who is controlling them. Since Kisuke can hear them, he shouts at the rats to talk and tells them to come out, and suddenly, a huge rat is made from all the little rats, Nightmare Fuel 2, the electric boogaloo. Shiro says that they are not just rats but have intelligence and knows how to use their big body. One rat has no intelligence, but with thousands of them combined, it becomes like a brain with more intelligence. Shiro asks how that is even possible, but even he does not know and cannot explain it. Kisuke asks the rat if they could talk instead and avoid fighting. He tells them to stay out of the human territory and live in the forest so they do not hunt them, but the rat asks if he is crazy. The rat says that there is not a lot of food in the world and explains that there is only it and its food. The rat says that they are weak and must work together to survive, and follows the smell of their path to the city they came from and sends a bunch of rats to the location. If they let them go, the city of Manfang will be overrun by rats, but Shiro says that she learned about their biology. Since a weak crowd became a strong person, it should work the other way around too, as Shiro uses her hair that fell off of her with a little bit of magic and uses it to attack the rats. It is not strong enough to beat normal monsters, but rats are weak and should hurt them and lower their numbers, which would make the big rat less intelligent. The rats are being defeated one by one with the hair, and Kisuke can hear its voice starting to disappear. When it is daytime, he cannot hear it anymore. He tells Shiro that their numbers are down and do not have any intelligence anymore, but when he looks at her, he sees that she has way less hair than before. She asks if he remembers how her bottom smells like, as if she was going to torture him again in front of everyone. After a while, Shiro slaps Ogun to try and wake him up, and when he does, he says that he got attacked by a bunch of rats. Kisuke says that Shiro already took care of them, and Ogun asks if they saved him. He asks if they are stupid because he would rather pass away than be saved by people like him. He tells them not to show their faces again and runs away from them, and Kisuke asks Shiro if she is happy now. What an ungrateful guy. Shiro says that she did not help her because she wanted to be thanked, and they decide to go back and report it to the guild. Shiro feels more like the main character than the actual main character does. At the guild, Emi says that Ogun came by before they did and reported that the request has been completed, which makes them angry. They did not expect him to be that bad and decided to beat him up the next time they met, but Emi explains that Ogun told her that they solved the problem and begged on his knees for a favor. Looks like he was a tsundere this whole time. She tells them that they can now get their guild card and have already completed the procedure, and gives them their fee. Shiro says that she is starting to like humans more, and they both become happy at finally receiving their guild card. Kisuke is being noisy as usual and annoying Shiro while she's eating. He says that even though they had all that money before, it is all gone now and only a few days pass since the last request. Shiro becomes surprised as if she saw her parents pass away right in front of her eyes and asks him where he put it while searching his body. He says that it all went into paying for her food, and she decides that they should go on a quest to get more money. At the Adventurer Guild, Shiro's hugging Amy because she missed her, and Amy asks if she is like a pet. Kisuke asks if she has any good requests, and she says that she does have a request to find and collect a plant while Shiro is playing with Amy like a snake. Amy brings out a pot of the plant called Chumung weed, which is mainly used to make recovery magic, and even one of these is enough to make medicine for 30 people. The Chumung weed is rare though, and the amount collected has been decreasing lately, so the guild cannot keep up with demands. Kisuke asks if Shiro has seen the plant before, and she says that she has not seen it, but knows where it is. In the forest, Shiro explains that the plant smells like the sun, meaning it is stored at a high level. The two of them are walking up a mountain, and Kisuke asks if this is the right place, but Shiro does not know and wants to check it out. Kizuki is already tired as usual of an office worker, and Shiro says that since the air is thin around there are not many dangerous monsters. She points at a slime monster which is just jumping around in the forest and notices them. Ryuru's younger and stupider cousin, I bet. They walk up to the slime, but it starts to cry and tells them not to eat it and runs away. Kizuki is surprised that it can talk and says that they will not hurt it, but it does not listen. Shiro quickly runs up to it and lands in front of it and tells it to wait while it cries like a baby. It is definitely going to turn into a slime girl, isn't it? The slime says that it is not a bad slime, and Shiro says that slimes are very weak, so even someone like him could beat it. The slime starts to cry again, and he says that he did not mean to scare it. The slime is surprised that they can talk to each other, and Kizuki explains that he has a skill that can let him talk to monsters. Shiro smiles like a mad person and says that she never saw a slime that can talk before, and Kizuki asks if it has any friends. The slime says that it does not, just like me for real, and Kizuki explains that they are trying to find Shimon weed. Shiro asks if it knows where the weed is, and the slime says it knows a place where there are a lot of weeds. It tells them to follow it, and Kizuki is excited because adventuring with a slime finally feels like he is in a fantasy world. They follow the slime to a cave, and Shiro shouts at Kizuki to hurry up and get down from the top of the cave. I think the slime is actually Rimuru and taking them to meet Veldora. Shiro tells him to believe in himself, and he jumps from the platform and falls down even lower in the cave. Shiro apologizes to them and asks if he is alright and tries to find a way to get down to him. Can she just jump down? Not like it would be enough to injure her. The cave is really dark, so Kisu turns on his lamp but notices that he is right on top of a huge snake which is staring at him. The snake says that it is sleepy, and Kisu notices that it can talk as well. He apologizes for waking it up and entering its home without its permission, and the snake thinks that he looks tasty to eat. It opens its mouth to eat him, but Shiro quickly saves him by kicking her in the face, but it does not do a lot of damage. The slime tells him to be careful and explains that the snake's fangs are too strong and the scales are tough as well. Shiro thinks that her Fenrir form will not do any damage either, and Hisuke starts barking at Shiro. Looks like falling down the cave made him lose his last 5 brain cells. Shiro wonders where the weak points of the snake are and figures out that the mouth is the only place where there are no scales. The snake figured out that she is going to aim for her mouth, but it just means that it will be easier for her to eat them. She opens her mouth wide to bait her, but Shiro gets rid of her fangs in one attack, which surprises her. The snake gets angry, but before she can do anything, Kisuke shouts at her that he does not want to fight her and wants to get through. The snake does not care though and uses her body as a rubber band to attack Shiro, which makes her crash against the wall. Never mind, I think we're getting a snake lady waifu. Kisuke is surprised that she was knocked out in one hit, and the snake becomes cocky and tells them not to let their guard down. Kizuki starts to attack the snake using her fang, which can go through any armor, but starts to laugh because it actually cannot go through her scales. She thought he was going to do something smart, but Kizuki just throws away the fang because he thought it could go through anything and calls it useless. The snake gets angry at that, and Kizuki mocks her by saying that her scales are not special at all and calls her stupid. The snake opens her mouth to eat him, but Kizuki shouts at Shiro that it is ready, and she pulls him back with a rope attached around him. He gets pulled back, and the snake bites into the ground, and when it screams from the pain, Shiro gets ready to use the rope to keep its mouth open and tie its body up. The snake is surprised that Shiro is still able to move, and she explains that she was faking it and was waiting for the moment the snake opened its mouth to tie it up. The slime is surprised that they can work together so well, and the snake says that she was just living alone by herself since humans do not come to a place like this and did not expect them to be this smart. Don't worry, most of the humans aren't actually that smart. Shiro asks what they should do while trying to bite the snake's body, and Kizuki asks if the snake has seen any Chimong weed in the cave. The snake does not know what it is, but the slime shouts that it knows where it is and to leave the snake alone. The slime jumps in a direction, but Shiro says that something does not feel right and tells him to keep his guard up. Kisui tells the slime that the Chimong weed can be made into medicine to heal injuries, so that is why they are looking for it, but Shiro says that he is wrong because the real reason they are looking for it is so they can eat delicious food. She literally has 2 brain cells, one for fighting and one for eating. Suddenly, the slime stops moving, and Kizuki asks if something is wrong. The slime says that they need to pass through this place, and when they go through the entrance, they see a huge hole on the roof and a pool in the middle. Kizuki asks if the Chimong weed grows here, but the slime says that there is no such thing here. It turns around and says that it tricked the both of them, and the liquid in the middle of the cave starts to bubble. A big slime starts to come out of the liquid, and the entrance they came in from suddenly collapses. Shiro says that the slime must have prepared this place beforehand, and now they are completely stuck. The huge slime is the final boss to beat, and Shiro thinks that it could be a rare and long-lived monster. The huge slime congratulates the little slime, saying that it even brought a human here, which is not an easy job to do. Kizu tries to talk to the boss slime, and it says that it was looking for strength and managed to separate the weak side from itself, but it is still alive as the bait slime. Since it released its weak version, the monsters chased it as food, but it was baited into coming into the cave to be fed to the slime. Humans do not normally fall for the bait though, but this time it did. The boss slime starts to attack them, and Shiro jumps off of Kisuk's back, pushing himself and her away from the attack. Since the boss slime has no physical body, physical attacks are useless, and is one of the strongest opponents yet. Shiro decides to fight against the boss slime, and while Kisu tries to run, the slime follows it but is very slow. Shiro thinks that she can just wait out until the boss slime gets tired, and the slime keeps yapping on and on about friendship and cooperation and beating the humans. The boss slime thinks that what they are looking for is the Shimong weed, but Kisuk talks about some cliché thing like wanting to be together with Shiro and to travel the world. The boss slime does not understand and attacks them again and asks where they are trying to go. Kisuk shouts that they do not care where, but the boss slime pulls a "who ask" card. The bait slime thinks to itself that it did not want to make it all the way to this cave because they did not attack it, which made it confused. It does not want to actually do this and rips away from the boss slime's body because it cannot do this anymore. It starts to get the main character vibes and says that it does not want them to pass away and not to hurt them. The boss slime does not care about its opinion and starts to attack them again. The bait slime quickly tells them that the weak point of the boss slime is the core inside his body at the bottom of his body, and if it gets destroyed, they can defeat the slime. The boss slime gets angry and attacks the bait slime, but it sees Kisuk holding the slime in his hands. Shiro says that he is causing trouble, but is also happy while he tries to run away from the boss slime. The bait slime asks why he is helping him because it lied to him, and Kisuk gives it a cliché main character line like "sometimes we make mistakes." Kisuk says that since it wants them to win, it should tell him more about how to beat him so it can be saved as well. The bait slime tells Kisuk how to beat the boss slime, but because his body is filled with poison, it will paralyze them if they touch it. You do be your own op sometimes. Kisuk wonders how they can even get inside its body then, and the bait slime says that since they defeated the snake, they should be able to defeat it. Kisuk shouts at Shiro, explaining the boss slime's weakness, and asks if she has any ideas on how to avoid its body. She says that she has a plan and will keep him safe while attacking the boss slime, which surprises him. Why is the main character even here when she can do everything herself? The boss slime attacks her, but she jumps and lands straight into the boss slime's body. They think that she's going to be paralyzed and get digested, but Kisuk believes in her and tells the bait slime that it is alright. The boss slime thinks that it defeated Shiro and starts to attack Kisuk, but he can easily dodge it because of how slow it is. They cannot keep avoiding it forever though, but before the boss slime can do anything, Shiro's hair fully grows back and starts to swim in the boss slime's body. They all get surprised, but Kisuk sees that she is controlling the wind using her magic and creating a thin layer of air around her body so she is not directly touching the slime. The bait slime is surprised at how strong she is, and Shiro grabs the boss slime's core. She wonders if she can destroy it, but before she can, the boss slime says that if they do destroy it, the bait slime also gets destroyed, and even though they worked hard to protect it, it was for nothing. Kisuk is surprised, but the bait slime smiles and says that they found out but is fine with it. When the slime was born into the world, there were a lot of weird things and the monsters were different from it, but it was still curious about them. Because of that, the monsters would attack him, and it ended up learning how to fake being strong. After a while, the slime ended up turning into a monster and questioned everything about the world. This caused it to throw away the weak part of itself to stay alive, but two people showed it the answer. It found about teamwork and that the world is not just about enemies, but it was too late. It could never be like them and just wants to go back to where it came from, but is glad that it ended up meeting Kisuk and Shiro. Kisuk starts to cry and tells it not to say that, and Shiro says that the slime is lying to itself. She knows that it wants to live, but the slime asks how it can erase only one side of it. The slime figures out that it is not impossible with allies and the power of friendship. The boss slime tells them to be quiet, and Kisuk threatens it with a core, but the boss slime says that they cannot do anything until one of them gets tired. The bait slime wants to learn more about the world and the two of them and wants to live. Shiro throws the slime's core towards Kisuk, which throws him back, and he quickly puts the core inside of the bait slime. Since it has the core now, it is the main body, but it cannot do anything because it is still weak. Kisuk says that it showed courage and stood up for someone else, so it is definitely not weak, and the boss slime goes all crazy on them. The boss slime says that the bait slime being better than it is not allowed and tries to attack it, but the bait slime blocks it by stretching itself. The boss slime makes fun of it and says it cannot survive on its own and keeps trying to attack it, but the bait slime grabs the tentacles and stops it from moving. The bait slime tells it that they need to talk more about it and its feelings. The slime used to be scared and did not want to admit that that was part of it, but it finally accepted it for what it is. The boss slime does not like the power of friendship though and keeps trying to attack the bait slime, but it keeps on yapping over and over about friendship, teamwork, and its identity. No one ordered the yappuccino. The bait slime finally defeats the boss slime and starts to cry while absorbing it and gets itself back together. After a while, Shiro says that it looks less cute now because it got a lot bigger, and the slime says that its body is adjusting. And there it is, the slime anime waifu no one asked for. Kizuki asks why she turned into an anime girl, and the slime explains that it based its appearance on the two of them. Shiro says that Kizuki is afraid of girls as if he is still in middle school. He tells her to put on some clothes, and the slime figures out that she can understand Shiro now but does not understand why. Shiro says that it is because of Kizuki's ability, because his skills can be shared within the party, so they are proper friends now. They climb out of the cave and find a whole field of the shmum weave that they needed. Shiro dives straight into the field because she can eat all the food she wants but starts to make a weird face. She wants to bring it all back, but they cannot fit everything, and the slime girl says that they should just tell everyone about this place instead, since it will help everyone who is in trouble. Wait till some rich noble comes and makes everyone pay a tax for a single weed. The three of them go back to the city of Manfang and are trying to enter the city without the guards questioning them. They try to walk fast, but the guard grabs the slime's hand and tells them to wait. He pulls her hood down and is surprised that she has blue skin and asks if she is a human. Now this is what peak racism looks like. Kizuki is mad at him because he was judging people based on their skin color, but the guard tries to make an excuse like, "Oh, I'm just doing my job, so she cannot harm people like you would ever do." The guard sees that the slime is about to cry and looks cute and allows them to go in without checking her identification. The power of cuteness truly rules everything. Kizuki feels bad for their gatekeeper, and the slime is surprised that he believes someone just because she started to cry and think humans are a kind species. The slime is excited at finally seeing humans and how lively the city is. Kizuki wonders why the streets are so much busier than usual, and someone shouts out that today is the holiday. He turns around to see the landlady in a bunny suit holding a sign. She tells them to come over, and Kizuki asks what she is doing. She explains that today is the festival, so they are putting on a show and promoting the inn to everyone. The landlady is excited that she looks similar to Shiro now, and Shiro asks Kizuki how old the landlady is. Never ask a man his salary and a woman her age. Shiro says that elves usually live a long life, and the landlady asks her what she's been talking about before while looking a little angry. Shiro apologizes to her because nothing can get past a woman in their sixth sense. The landlady hugs her and calls her cute, and Shiro asks what the festival is about. She explains that there is an event that Shiro would definitely enjoy doing, the biggest battle in this city, the all-you-can-eat buffet, the food battle royale. She explains that whoever eats the most wins the event, and since only the ugly men participate each year, she has not been able to promote her store. But this year they have Shiro, which will definitely give them a win and will be the first woman champion in history. Amakwa asks Shiro if she wants to join, and she happily accepts. There was no point in asking her at all, of course she's going to join. The landlady asks about the blue person behind them if she is related to Kizuki, and he explains that she is a new friend and tries to think of a name for her. The landlady looks at her and notices how her body looks and asks for her name, and instead, the slime makes a purr sound. She thinks that her name is Pururu though, so I guess that is her name now. The landlady asks if she is joining the event too, and Kizuki quickly grabs Pururu's hand and runs to the guild. Pururu thinks that they were sus, but that is just because Kizuki did not think of a name for her yet. Kizuki wants to choose a strong-sounding name, but Pururu likes her new name and decides to keep it. They give her some clothes to protect her core, and so they can hide the fact that she is a slime. She thinks that her identity has already been revealed, and if everyone finds out that she is a slime, she will not be able to escape them. The food battle event starts, and when Pururu looks around her, she notices that everyone looks weird, so she does not really stand out a lot. Kizuki told her to win the food battle, but Pururu thinks she cannot because a lot of other talented people will be there. He plans on having Shiro secretly eat her food and no one will notice it, but if they win, she will be popular in town and will not need to hide anymore. At the event, they serve a huge bowl of food to everyone, and Pururu tries to think of a strategy to give the food to Shiro, but she asks Pururu if she really thought that she would pretend to lose on purpose. Shiro just played along with the plan but did not actually plan on losing because when they became allies, she did not have a chance to battle her properly, and the only thing she wants is victory. Shiro starts to put as much food in her mouth as possible as if she is Luffy and eats faster than they can fill her plate. All the other players are trying their best, but at this point, I think it is a waste of time and might as well give Shiro the prize. Everyone is cheering for Shiro, while she does not even act like a human anymore. Pururu thinks that all she did was copy other people, but it is more human to be herself and steps up her game. She takes a whole plate and shoves it into her mouth while not even chewing her food, which surprises everyone. She's like a movable garbage can, perfect for camping. A lot of the players gave up because they know they have no chance of winning and only Shiro and Pururu are left on the stage. They start to eat even more, but suddenly, Shiro makes a weird face and Kizuke thinks that Pururu is actually going to beat the Glutton King. Shiro tries to ask her if she's going to surrender, but Pururu misunderstands and says that she will go as far as she can because she has no limit. Shiro gives up and falls down on the floor, and Pururu is the winner of the foot battle event. Back at the inn, Pururu is happy that everyone recognized her, but Shiro is depressed because this is the first time she lost. Don't worry, you win the waifu war though. Kizuke notices that they do not have enough beds for everyone and decides to ask the landlady if she has any extra room, but Shiro says that since she lost, she should go sleep on the mud. Pururu says that there is another bed and tells Kizuke to use her body as a bed, and Shiro lays on her. She says that she has never felt anything like this before and starts to go crazy. Kizuke looks away and says he will sleep in another room, but Shiro and Pururu do not allow him and forces him to sleep together with them. Insert Ujaya, oh it should have been me, not her, it's not fair meme. The group is traveling to another town in a carriage, and Shiro is amazed that they do not have to walk such a long distance. She really enjoys it but cannot stop throwing up because of the motion sickness, and Kizuke tells her to look outside and get a breath of fresh air. Shiro asks how they are fine with it, and Kizuke says that he is just used to it, and Shiro starts to feel like she needs to go to the bathroom, and Kizuke quickly tells the carriage driver to stop so they can take a break. The group is going to the Volcano region, which has the biggest volcano, and the coal mines and lava are used to make items from iron. Their current mission is to escort the goods to Volcano City because there are some dangerous monsters around the area. Pururu looks around the carriage and is amazed at human technology, and Kizuke says that the humans managed to survive because of the advanced technology. While they are stopped, a person walks up to them and notices Shiro and thinks that she is someone she knows. Random NPC identified. The woman calls her Vada and says that it has been a long time since they last met, but Shiro does not know who the random woman is. The woman is surprised that Shiro is in a human form and cannot believe she's with humans because Vada is not that kind of person, but Shiro does not care and tells her to screw off. Kizuke notices that Shiro can actually understand what the woman is saying, and she suddenly takes off her clothes and shows that she is actually a bird woman. The bird woman grabs Shiro and flies away, and Kizuke wonders who the person really is and tries to chase after it. The bird woman sings a little song while carrying Shiro, while she shouts at her to let her, and finally remembers who she really is. She calls her a burning chicken, and the bird woman gets upset and says that she is a phoenix. Waifu number 3 is definitely going to join the group. The phoenix wondered where Shiro disappeared to and asks why she changed her appearance and tells her to go back to her original form. Shiro gets angry and tries to attack the bird woman with wind magic, and the bird woman asks if she's trying to make them crash like Ko's helicopter. It does nothing to the bird woman though, and she says something a crazy person would say, like her happiness is Shiro's happiness. Shiro has another trick up her sleeve and vomits all over the bird woman, which she accidentally gets in her mouth and lets go of Shiro. Nobody expects it, so that is why it always works. Just ask the Spanish Inquisitors. She falls towards the ground, and Kizuke tells Pururu to run towards Shiro's vomit. Pururu quickly transforms into a slime to safely catch Shiro, and she becomes that Pururu saved her. The bird woman comes down to the ground and acts like a crazy stalker and says that she loves Shiro a lot. Kizuke asks who Vada is, but Shiro does not understand because she is acting like she is her guardian, which is annoying her. The bird woman says that her name is Vada because it is noble and pure, and says that her name is Harpocratem. Great, another weirdo to add to the group. Harpocratem says that they grew up in the same nest and have a bond, and Shiro remembers that she was chained to the top of a giant tree and asks if that is what she meant by bonds. Kizuke is shocked, and Harpocratem says that the world is crazy and filled with disgusting humans and not a place that someone like Shiro should be in. Reminds me of another person, someone who failed to get into art school. Harpocratem learned the language of Fenrir just so she can talk to Shiro, and Kizuke says that she chained her to the tree, so why would someone like her care about Shiro? Harpocratem gets angry that he called her Vada by a disgusting name, and he asks Shiro if she is an enemy or ally. Harpocratem asks why Vada is on her side and if they are allies just because they can talk to each other, and gets very angry because humans are disgusting. She starts getting ready to attack them and flies straight at them, but Shiro pushes them out of the way and kicks Harpocratem. She asks why Shiro is protecting them, and Shiro tells Kizuke that they cannot use the power of talk no jutsu here because she does not care about other people's opinions. just like typical Redditors. She explains that they cannot beat her because she is immortal, so they should not fight against her. They also have the mission they need to complete, and Harpocratum asks if she is helping the humans with their chores and they have turned her into livestock. She charges up a fire attack and shoots flames from her hands straight at the group, but Perura turns into a slime and creates a shield around them. She does not feel anything but cannot hold it for a long time, so they need to think of a plan. Harpocratum notices that Shiro is also with a slime, which is basically the same as a human, filthy. Pururu says that even if she is immortal, they can still paralyze her and put some slime on Shiro's hand to hit her with. It is the ultimate offense and defense, and Pururu names it Slime Fist. Wow, very original and not cliché-sounding at all. Shiro jumps off from Pururu's slime body and hits Harpocratum straight on her face, and Kizuke thinks that they got her, but it does nothing, and Harpocratum hits Shiro in the face with a flame attack. Shiro feels the pain, and Harpocratum makes fun of her for following the plan of someone like a slime. Even though she has all the paralyzing slime on her, she easily removes it because of her flames, so even water cannot do anything against the fire. Harpocratum keeps on yapping on about how she wants to save Vada from the humans by getting rid of the two of them, but Shiro gets up to protect them. She tells Shiro to choose who to protect because she cannot protect both of them at once, and Pururu pulls a classic "What is that move?" and points behind Harpocratum, which distracts her. She looks behind her to see what she is pointing at, but there is nothing, and when she turns around, Pururu starts running, or should I say jumping, away from them. She says that she is not their friend and has nothing to do with this because Shiro would definitely protect Kizuke first, and it is better to be alone instead. She jumps away from the fight, which makes Harpocratum even angrier because she abandoned her friends and wanted to save herself. Even bad guys have standards. Harpocratum decides to get rid of Pururu first and flies straight at her, but before she can reach her, some slime from the ground comes out which stops Harpocratum from moving. Pururu hid most of her bodies underground, and since she ran away, Harpocratum would definitely come after her first, so she acted as bait. Harpocratum gets angry because Pururu looks smug about her plan and starts to use her flames on the slime to free herself. Before she can do anything though, Pururu says that she had to borrow this power, and suddenly the slime starts to turn into rocks. Harpocratum finally figured out what Pururu was doing and tries to remove her flames before it can become harder, but Shiro says that wind gives power to the flames and uses her wind magic towards Harpocratum. She tries to get Shiro to stop, but by using the power of fire, water, earth, and wind like the Avatar, they succeed in stopping Harpocratum. She finally understands defeat, and Shiro says that she looks like an important statue, like a god. Shiro says that they need to get Pururu to her original size because she's a lot smaller now, so they need to eat a lot of food when they get to town, and tells Kizuke to make arrangements since he did nothing this time. I don't think he ever does anything. Harpocratum says that it is not fair and starts to cry like a baby because she wants Shiro to praise her too. She tells them to eliminate her because she will be revived anyways, and Shiro asks why she tried to get rid of Kizuke and Pururu. Harpocratum wanted Shiro to respect her by showing her strength, but she was not strong enough. Shiro tells Haru, which is Harpocratum's name from before, that her power is real but not enough. Haru asks if she finally remembers who she is, but Shiro says that she is not Vada, and to remember Kizuke and Pururu as well. Shiro turns around and tells them they should leave her quickly because she will eventually get out, and Haru thinks that Shiro is a nice name. She looks at the group and sees that they are having fun together and becomes Kizuke's fan and starts giving out a weird vibe around her. Deep in a forest, a person is begging for someone to not attack him because he will pass away, but the monster does not care. The monster, who has the face of a tiger, uses some kind of curse magic to eliminate the human, but is not satisfied with it, and is looking for something else. At the Volcano town, Shiro and Pururu are getting excited to eat as much as they want. Shiro tells Kisu to order everything from the menu because it is not enough even though the whole table is full, and he says that he looked at the menu and there is some really good food there. Shiro is excited, and the waiter brings over a big piece of chicken called grilled Harpocratum. Shiro is surprised that they can eat Haru's meat here and starts to eat it like a hungry dog, and Kizuke asks the waiter about the dish. The waiter says that it is just turkey, hot sauce and spices, and to improve their stamina because it is going to be crazy tonight and tomorrow. Kizuke asks about the Harpocratum part of the dish, and the waiter says that she is famous around the area because she is the guardian deity of this city, and they even have a totem of her in the middle of the town. When the group goes to check it out, they are shocked and never expected Haru to be the goddess of this place. Kizuke wonders if they did something bad by sealing away the goddess of this place, but Shiro says that she should have broken out of the seal by now because she is a phoenix. Kizuke notices a plate on the base of the totem, which says that night will never come to those that burn bright. Weird quote from someone who wants to eliminate all humans just because they are dirty. Pururu says that even at night the whole town is bright, and how amazing it is that humans are able to use fire. Someone comes up to the group and is surprised that Kisu can read the ancient text and explains that the words actually mean that those with passion and belief will live forever. Yeah, still don't believe someone like Haru would say something like that. The person says that the town is guided by the guardian deity Harpocratum and starts flexing on them as if he is Kwam. He introduces himself as the guild leader of the city and asks if they are adventurers. Kizu introduces himself, Shiro, and Pururu as his party and asks the guild leader why Harpocratum is the guardian of this town. He explains that when he was a young boy, she saved him from a monster and showed compassion to a weak and stupid child like him. He realized that she was a real goddess who was beautiful and wise. Shiro says that he yaps too much, and the guild leader says that a phoenix can sleep for a century, so they have to be strong in the meantime. The totem is just a tourist trap now, and he wonders if the goddess has disappeared while Shiro and Pururu play in the background like a mother and daughter. Kizuke says that she might still be around and has not shown up because something might have happened. Back at their room, Shiro is lying on Pururu's slime form like she's a pillow and says that she cannot imagine Haru as a guardian deity, and even though she is divine and she hates humans. Kizuke says that it happened in the past, but heard an incident that happened around here recently. Shiro was interested now, and Kizuke explains that a body was found with its life force sucked out, and they have found 3 of these bodies and only happened a few days ago. Of course, it happens when the main character is in this town. The bad guy has the worst timing. Shiro says that it could not have been Haru since there are no burn marks, so it must be another monster, and she knows someone who do something like that, which is Rakshasa, the death-eating demon. These demons rips the weak and unstable souls out of people who have lost the will to live, which makes Pururu scared and asks if he is the Grim Reaper. Shiro says that it is similar, but not as amazing since he just preys on the mentally weak people. Rakshasa's hunt by smelling the smell of death, and Pururu says that she would have become its prey if she was still the same as before, but Shiro says that he only appears on battlegrounds or towns where there are a lot of poor people, so it is weird that he is showing up in a place like this where people are happy. Sounds like something definitely weird is happening in this town, why wouldn't it? Suddenly, a wall in the room starts catching on fire and Hisuke alerts Shiro, but Haru flies straight through the wall and goes straight to Kisuke. She says that she finally found him and tells him not to move around in her territory and threatens Shiro and Pururu to not move or else she will cut his neck. Shiro gets down and says that if she wants revenge, then she should battle against her instead of going to Kisuke, but he tells her to wait. He is surprised that Haru learned their names and that she just wanted to talk to them because she is just its sun gear. Haru lets him go and sits down and says that Shiro is beautiful, no matter how much she looks at her. Shiro gets angry and asks if she can punch her just once, but Kisuke stops her from moving. That makes the two of us laugh at her. Kisuke asks her why she threatened them, and Haru explains that she sucks at talking to people as equals and scares people away. Kisuke talks about the totem in the town, which embarrasses her, and Shiro says that there is even a dish named after her, which tastes really good, and starts licking her lips thinking of how good Haru would taste. Haru is embarrassed that she is the guardian of this town and tries to make an excuse that she is not protecting the humans. She then tells them not to get involved in the Rakshasa issue because he is her prey, and she will handle it by herself because he keeps coming onto her territory, so his life belongs to her. Shiro agrees with her even though Kisuke wants to help her because phoenixes are immortal, so the Rakshasa are completely useless against her. Since this is Haru's territory, they cannot interfere and does not want to cause more damage, so they should just leave it to her. Kisuke agrees but says that the people in the town have not seen her for a long time and asks Haru why she has not been talking to the villagers. Haru tells them to stop looking into it and will take care of the Rakshasa by herself and tells them to go home. She flies away from the hole in the wall she made without even giving them the money to repair it. At the edge of a mountain, the Rakshasa is standing there menacingly and notices Haru approaching him. He has been running from her for years but is finally facing her now, and Haru asks if he wants to settle their battle now. The Rakshasa says some profound words that no one cares about and talks about the symbol of life and death. At the end, Kisuke remembered something important. He explains that the Rakshasa is following the smell of death, so for him to come into Haru's territory is not smart, and he was actually aiming for Haru from the start and baiting her out. Shiro asks Kisuke if he wants to help Haru because she already told them not to get in her way, and it does not even affect him at all, but Kisuke feels like Haru is definitely going to lose the battle. At the mountain, the Rakshasa says that Haru destroyed his race and eliminated his entire family, but will never get to her level. He wants to control death, so that is why he is here and ready to battle her. Haru tells him to get ready, and the Rakshasa puts his sword into the ground, which makes it break apart from the mountain and starts to fall. Haru is surprised, but the Rakshasa takes out 2 bows and aims it at her, which goes through her wings. Haru gets angry, and when the Rakshasa reaches the ground, he grabs a rock and throws it straight at her. He really came prepared. Haru stands no chance at all, except through the power of friendship, which we all know will definitely happen. Haru asks him if he really thinks he can beat her because he is just a nobody and cannot beat death, but he does not care and grabs the rope holding her wings. He pulls her close to him, and when she touches the ground, a bear trap catches her leg, but she does not really feel the pain. Haru starts to use her fire ability, but does not notice that there are barrels behind her with something explosive inside of it, which explodes. She quickly escapes the explosion and transforms into her phoenix form and shoots a fireball from her mouth. It does not reach him though because she ran out of magic and the Rakshasa jumped straight at her in the air. He saw her battle against Shiro and noticed she was not trying her best and says that she has gotten weaker every day. He uses his sword to slash one of her wings and says that she is pathetic. Haru gets angry and grabs the Raksasa's body with her chicken legs and shouts that no matter how strong he is, she will never lose to someone like him. One day, all life will end, but the Rakshasas were different because with magic, they could absorb the lifespans of others and tried to become immortal to take over the world. This is why Haru destroyed their village in the past as the guardian of death. When she did, she heard someone crying and noticed a baby Rakshasa close to her and thought about eliminating him as well, but when she saw him reaching out for her hand, she decided to let him live and take him in. She tried feeding him, taking care of him, and educating him. This is definitely not ending on a good note, is it? One day, the baby Rakshasa woke her up in the morning by being an annoying little kid, and she asks why he is so energetic. He says he wants to spread the energy of life and it might make her feel better too, but she tells him to stop it. She says that she does not deserve to be cheered up by someone like him because she was the one who destroyed his family. Wow, what a good way to start your morning, huh? I usually start with coffee, but whatever makes you wake up, I guess. After a while, the baby Rakshasa left her house, which she wanted because she wanted him to continue living somewhere far away from here. Because she remembered her past, Haru stopped attacking the Rakshasa for a second, but because of that, he grabs her throat and pushes her down.